Hey guys, it's Hey guys, it's GameJames, and oh boy, it is that time again!
With the recent release of Sonic Forces, many have been in anticipation of either the best or the worst, and the reviews for the game have so far been mixed. But I'm not here to talk about Sonic Forces. I'm here to celebrate the release of the game by going back to the original, tried and true classic, Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis.
Yeah, definitely not this one. That was a good take. As a self-titled Sonic fanboy, I figured I would have to take a look at the first game in the franchise. It catapulted Sega into the juggernaut position that it once was. Now, Sega didn't exactly hold on to that position, but still it was the flagship game for the Genesis. But did it deserve that success? Let's find out. Now I do have to play this game on the Genesis 6-pack, because I don't actually own an original copy of Sonic the Hedgehog, and I don't, frankly, plan on owning one, because I do have this 6-pack and there's no real need for me to buy one.
Before we go into the game, let me describe my experience with this game to clear up any bias. When I was a wee little boy, I walked into a Goodwill and saw a Genesis Model 2, still the model I have today, 2 controllers, and 1 cartridge.
That cartridge was this very same Genesis 6-pack. This came with my original Genesis. So obviously I'm going to be a bit nostalgic for Sonic the Hedgehog, as it was the first game I ever played on the Genesis on this cartridge. So I apologize in advance.
Sonic starts off with what is probably the shortest title screen timer ever, but once you manage to press start in time, you are treated to some blissful music and beautiful visuals. This game blasts your ears and eyes with sensory overload, which is better than it sounds. It leaves a very good impression on the player. However, what's the gameplay like? At least in Green Hill Zone, one of the most recognizable first stages in gaming, it's close to perfect. There are a lot of sections in which you can get a ton of speed, and mixing that with some nice platforming, and you've got a winner.
A winner of what? I have no idea.
Sonic 1 initially looks great, plays great, sounds great, and feels great. This is what I think people remember about Sonic 1, the overall feel of Green Hill Zone. Going fast, hitting ramps and loops, and smashing enemies in Green Hill Zone is exactly what sticks in people's minds when they play the original Sonic. However, the rest of the game past Green Hill Zone is a little disappointing. Once you defeat the first level's boss, Dr. Robotnik goes zoom zoom, and once you free the animals trapped there, you are immediately transported to Marble Zone.
This is where the game starts to take a nosedive in my opinion. You see, Marble Zone takes away everything that was fun about its predecessor Green Hill Zone.
The bright, vibrant, visual style is replaced with pretty drab and lifeless environments. Boring and tedious sluggishness supersedes the speedy and fast parts of Green Hill Zone. Also, the caterpillars. I hate the caterpillars. I've noticed that Marble Zone primarily consists of waiting. Wait for the pillar to rise, wait for the block to float, wait for the spikes to come up, it's all just one big delay. This really takes away from the atmosphere of the first stage put into place. Next is Springyard Zone, and I actually really like this one. It brings back the amazing speed and graphics from Green Hill Zone with a new visual and auditory flair. The music is superb, and that's not saying the music in the previous 2 zones was bad. It's just that I like the Springyard theme a bit more than the other 2. Yes, Green Hill Zone's theme may be incredibly iconic, but I could find myself listening to Springyard time and time again.
As you've probably noticed by now, I'm going through every single zone in the game one by one. I'm doing this because I noticed a very strong divide simply between every single zone. I'll get more into this later.
Labyrinth Zone has arrived and oh god! This is awful. Listen, I know water levels in video games have a bad reputation, and that's mostly for good reason. The majority of them can be frustrating and plain not fun to play through. But Sonic's water levels are a new level of terrible. Instead of actually swimming, Sonic decides to play a slower and clunkier version of its normal platforming. This on its own is concerning, but add a drowning timer that always seems to be a little too short, and you've just created a strong recipe for disaster. Some water is fine, but filling a zone with this mechanic was destined to be agitating. If it's not clear already, Labyrinth Zone is my least favorite zone in the entire game. The visuals and music are alright, no problems there, but they don't make up for the turmoil that is the gameplay. Starlight Zone is pretty good, at least compared to the horrors of Labyrinth Zone. There are many loops and almost roller coaster-like sections that really show Sonic's speed and the original selling point of the Sega Genesis, its processing power. The music is nice and cheerful, however the visuals are not. They're mostly all just green, with a small bit of gray sprinkled in there for good measure. Overall, a passable zone, clearly focusing on speed above all else, which is probably what all the other levels should be doing.
I'm not going to spend too long a time going into the final full-length zone of the game, Scrap Brain Zone. It's pretty average. The one thing you do need to know, however, is Act 3 and how absolutely trash-tastic it is.
This is very similar to the Labyrinth Zone, in which most of the stages take place underwater. Sadly, there are fewer air bubbles this time around and many more hazards to get through. Scrap Brain Act 3 is impossible, at least for me. I ended up giving up at this point and using a level select code to get to the final boss. I shouldn't have to do that, especially in a game without inherent continues, saves, or even a pass rate system. You're expected to beat this all in one shot, including the ultra difficult Labyrinth and Scrap Brain zones.
You would hope that the final zone of the game, aptly named Final Zone, would be a treat, right? A challenging boss fight to test all of the skills you've no doubt acquired in getting this far? No.
Final Zone is just a boss fight. No rings are present, which means one hit and you're dead. And this boss fight kinda blows. It's incredibly similar to the other boss fights in the game, which I found easy to pass as they're just for decoration pretty much and not a challenge. However, there are two ways Final Zone can go for you. Either you lose all your lives due to the one-hit deaths causing you to restart the entire game, or you easily breeze past Robotnik and end your adventure.
This isn't exactly a fun way to go out, more of a disappointing end if you ask me. Overall, I'd say Sonic the Hedgehog on Sega Genesis is a decent little venture. No kid in the 90s had a Sega Genesis without having a copy of this thing. And I'd say Green Hill Zone contributed a lot to the very fond memories of this game constantly circulating. However, my playthrough of it was a lot more frustrating than I initially anticipated. So, would I say that Sonic the Hedgehog is a treasured classic or an outdated piece of crap? As negative as I've been in this, I have to say it's a treasured classic.
Sonic the Hedgehog is in no way a perfect title, but it isn't exactly a bad game either. Some levels such as Green Hill Zone and Spring Yard Zone blazed a really good trail to follow for the rest of the Sonic titles on Sega Genesis.
In conclusion, I'd say that Sonic 1 deserves its place in gaming history. If you really want to play a really classic Sonic game though, I'd start with this gem of plastic and circuitry. That being said, Sonic the Hedgehog will always remain special to me, and it still to this day reminds me of a time when Sonic games were actually good. Hey guys, it's GameJames, and you know what I have really fond memories of? Pokemon. And with the recent release coming of Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I figured I'd take a personal look at one of my favorite Pokemon experiences of all time. Pokemon Snap. Now listen, I didn't say this was a good game, I just said I had a pretty good time with it a long time ago. But I haven't played the game in forever, so it's time to uncover the truth about the quality of Pokemon Snap and see if it stood the test of time. Pokemon Snap, in a lot of ways, is very similar to Sonic the Hedgehog in the fact that it has 6 full zones and 1 final incomplete zone. So just like Sonic the Hedgehog, I'm going to be going through each zone one by one and really dissecting what makes each zone what it is and how it affects the game as a whole. The game starts up with a nice looking animation and gives me the option to continue or start a new game. Riley, who's that? Alright, let's get started. Wait, I'm sorry? Press A to do it. Okay, I'll press A to do it. The first thing I notice is the controls. They're half inverted, with the vertical axis being inverted, but the horizontal axis being left alone. This control setup is very hard to get used to, but once you do, I suppose it works. What you can't get used to, however, is how stiff the movement is. Any scrolling of the camera, zoomed in or not, will immediately cease when you let go of the joystick. And with a joystick like this, you're really not in for a very good time. It makes taking accurate pictures of Pokemon way harder than it needs to be. If you look closely, you can see me flailing around like a Magikarp just trying to take photos of some flying-type Pokemon in the first stage. It's aggravating to work with this control scheme throughout the entire game, souring the experience in general. Moving beyond the controls, the beach level is actually a pretty good first stage. It introduces the gameplay and its mechanics,
while also leaving incentive to come back to the stage with hidden unlockables in the form of Pokemon that can only be accessed by utilizing items found later in the game. The tunnel level afterwards carries forward a more foreboding atmosphere that I really love, as well as hammering home a mechanic that I really like in this game. I'll call it puzzles. There are certain things you can do to influence the world around you and cause new Pokemon to appear, or even unlock a new area to explore. Did you know if you bring 3 Magnemite together, they form a Magneton? This is just one example of the mysteries that lead you to filling out the Pokemon report. It's what really brings the game together for me, and it's what makes me want to come back and replay the game.
These are the kind of secrets I loved finding as a kid. I still have yet to complete the Pokemon report. I still have 2 Pokemon. Those secrets, I have yet to find. There's only one real reason Pokemon Snap did as well as it did in my opinion. It's not the visuals, it's not the gameplay, and it's definitely not the controls. No, I think the reason people latched onto this game and remember it so fondly is the secrecy surrounding how to catch certain Pokemon on film.
After the tunnel stage comes the volcano stage, and it's a little bit of a letdown. A lot of the puzzles here are simply tossing an apple or a pester ball into a lava crater and waiting to see what happens. Also, the graphics are unappealing. Everything looks almost foggy, and bland colors and textures are used to cover the landscape. Compared to the vibrant feel of the beach and the uneasiness surrounding the tunnel, Volcano doesn't bring anything new or interesting to the table. It's just a dull execution for a level centered around fire types. Bit of a side note here, the legendary bird egg here is super obvious, whereas the other 2 in the game at least have some mystery surrounding them. Moltres literally blocks your path and restricts your movement until you hit it into the lava. Come on. The river stage after the volcano is really interesting. The graphics are probably the best here, and overall, this level has a really entrapping atmosphere, more so than any previous stage. Lots of puzzles here as well, with accessing the next area locked beyond one.
The river stage is my second favorite stage to play through. It's still really fun to this day. But notice I said second favorite stage. Yes, there is a stage that tops river, and is coming up right afterwards. In my opinion, the cave stage is the best in the entire game, hands down. It has quite a number of puzzles, more than Tunnel, and it has such a great atmosphere, better than Rivers. It's just so much fun to play through.
This level is packed to the brim with content from beginning to end. It keeps me coming back, wanting to replay this level. I remember being a kid and spending a very long time trying to get Grimer and Muck to appear. It's pretty hard to figure out, but once I did, I remember the greatest sense of accomplishment. Maybe that's why the cave is my favorite. Or maybe it's the singing Jigglypuff at the end, saved from the chase of coughing. Or maybe it's the Articuno, woken up through the use of the Poke Flute. Or maybe it's those cute little Bulbasaur that happen to actually be Dittos. It appears that almost everything about the cave zone is perfect. With how much praise I'm giving the cave level, you'd think nothing can top it. And you'd be right. But Valley, the last full-fledged stage in Pokemon Snap, comes relatively close to doing so. The scenery is top-notch, and unlocking the final stage does require one of the harder puzzles to figure out. I admittedly don't have a lot to say about this one, other than it's still really enjoyable to play today.
With the final 2 fleshed out stages out of the way, it's time to take a look at the final stage in the entire game, Rainbow Cloud. The only Pokemon available to take a picture of here is Mew. The landscape is, well, frankly there isn't one, and the easiest way to take a picture of Mew is present right here. All you have to do is throw a Pester Ball at it, and wait for it to come out of its ball so you can take a picture of it. It's not that hard. What a climax.
I'm being serious. There's practically nothing to do in Rainbow Cloud, and unlike the rest of the stages, you have to use all 60 of your film slots in order for the exit to appear. The only other way out is to leave through the menu.
I still see a lot of similarities between Pokemon Snap and Sonic the Hedgehog. Both have 7 zones in the game, 6 being full-fledged, and 1 being a final, more incomplete zone. The zones vary so much in quality, it's hard to fairly judge the quality of the entire game. However, is Pokemon Snap a lazy attempt or a lovely adventure? I'd have to stick it somewhere in the middle.
If you plan on going back and playing Pokemon Snap again, beware the controls. I'd have given this game a strong passing vote if it weren't for this mess of button commands and joystick movements. Overall, most of the stages are actually pretty fun, but what sours them is the way you play.
A lot of people had expressed interest in a sequel to Pokemon Snap, potentially using the Switch's motion capabilities. I would be on board with this idea, assuming it would ever come to fruition. But first, they'd have to fix the awkward controls. Rectifying that would be the first step to really improving Pokemon Snap. But for now, we're just gonna have to stick with the Poke Finder in Pokemon Sun and Moon.
Yeah, let's just not with this one.
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and I love competitive fighting games. Street Fighter 4 and Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS are among my favorites, though I love pretty much all of them. But one game I never really understood the hatred for was Super Smash Bros. Brawl. Brawl is the unwanted child of Daddy Sakurai, rejected by most of the Super Smash Bros. Community for being uncompetitive, mechanics such as random tripping being in place. The game is predominantly unbalanced, with Meta Knight being in a tier of his own, and only a select few characters even being playable in the game due to all of the rest of them being really bad. But can Brawl still be good despite the malice surrounding it? Frankly, I never really understood the dislike for Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I loved the game when I got it. So, I want to take a second look at it today and see if it really deserves its bad reputation. How am I supposed to determine that, however? This game doesn't really have any stages in it, unlike the previous two games that I've covered. So, I'm going to turn this into a mega episode of sorts. I'm going to sort through every single mode in the entire game. Kill me now. First and foremost, before I get into any actual gameplay, I must mention the stellar quality of the presentation. It's realistic, for the Wii's standards anyway, and it carries a monotone feel and a lack of vibrant colors. It doesn't sound very good, but trust me, it looks really good.
Brawl is the first and most important mode in the game. Here, you can choose from a selection of 37 characters and 41 stages to fight it out, whether it be against your friends or against the CPU. Unfortunately, I have no knowledge of the concept of friendship, so I'll be playing this by myself. I played with items on and all stages legalized. I believe this is the most fun way to play a game of Super Smash Bros. Yes, I know the competitive standard involves banning all items and potential stage hazards, and I'm not saying this kind of gameplay is not inherently fun. I personally just have more fun with those randomized elements. Super Smash Bros. Brawl excels at being a party game first, competitive fighter second. Masahiro Sakurai, the producer of the game, stated that Brawl was directed towards a new audience to the franchise. Brawl was not meant to appease fans of the Super Smash Bros. Series, but was rather intended to usher in newbies to Smash. I suppose I was one of said newbies, as this was my first Super Smash Bros. Title. Frankly, I was having so much fun playing Brawl that I had a hard time putting it down after I had recorded enough footage. I ended up with about 30 minutes worth of extra footage you're not seeing right now. The next modes are all variations of the Brawl mode. Special Battle allows for certain parameters to be set in order to maximize craziness that can occur. Rotation allows for a large number of players to play without the need for an 8-player mode such as the one in Smash 4. And Tourney is, well, it's a tourney alright. I really wish they brought this kind of mode back for Smash 4. I always would play through to see if I could win a 32-man tourney against the hardest computers. I would even host all CPU's tourneys just to watch. Rules and names don't really need to be mentioned as much here, they're just for setting Brawl rules and nicknames. Again with that Riley name. Do I know a Riley?
The group modes are where the bulk of the game's multiplayer lies. However, what's unique to Brawl is that it has a really good single-player experience to call its own. And let's call it, the Subspace Emissary? Ah yes, the infamous Subspace Emissary. This mostly single-player campaign works on a level-based system, with cutscenes in between each one. I have to say, the cutscenes are still really fun to watch today. However, I won't be showing many of them due to spoilers, though if you really don't want to be spoiled from a 9-year-old game, I would suggest being turned away now.
The general gist of the plot is someone is blowing up the world with subspace bombs, and it's up to Nintendo's characters, and Snake apparently, to stop them. In the Subspace Emissary, you mostly progress from left to right, destroying enemies in the process. Sometimes the enemies are unique to Smash Bros., other times the enemies are ripped straight from some of our favorite franchises. What makes these stages memorable to me, however, is the bosses. Throughout the Subspace Emissary, you face many really cool-looking bosses, including but not limited to Petey Piranha from Mario, Porky from Earthbound, and whatever the hell this thing is. The final boss, as with the other two games I've covered on GameJames up to this point, is quite a disappointment. However, this time he's not too easy. He's too difficult. Taboo, as he's called, isn't very hard, really. What he is cheap. I understand how to dodge his instant kill attack, but Taboo simply doesn't give you much time to attack him. And most, if not all of his attacks, take a stock in about 2 or 3 hits. Not a very fun ending to an otherwise amazing story mode. I would have much preferred Master Hand to be the final boss, as he's basically the mascot of the Smash Bros. Series. However, he was relegated to 2nd place in Brawl. Classic mode is a nice diversion with some fun little gameplay elements to keep one interested. Same goes for All-Star mode, which is enjoyable, but admittedly not for long. Stadium is basically a high score fest in 4 different modes: Target Smash, Home Run Contest, Multi-Man Brawl, and Boss Battles. Again, it's fun, but I couldn't bring myself to play it for much time. Events breaks this trend, however, with 41 different events, oddly, one for every stage, to complete at 3 different difficulties. It took me a while as a kid to complete all of them, but I never got bored of doing so. Also, training is training. Did you really expect me to cover training?
Before I dive into any non-gameplay aspects of Brawl, I want to cover a serious issue in the game: the movement. Everyone jumps around and walks and runs like they're on the moon, and this really turned a lot of people off when Brawl came out, especially compared to Melee's almost brick-like gravity. But I don't really see a problem with it. This game is built for younger and less experienced players to ease them into the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. And with floaty controls like this, it's a lot easier for those people to really get into and enjoy the game.
Vault contains some interesting features. Trophies and stickers isn't just a simple way to look at collectibles. You could pose your trophies and stickers, and just like the more recent iteration of Super Smash Bros., there's a mode in which you can obtain trophies and stickers through gameplay. However, unlike Trophy Rush, which is just a rehash of normal gameplay, Brawl's Coin Launcher is a new game entirely. It involves the player shooting coins at passing enemies and trophies, similar to an arcade machine. I found this super fun when I was younger. I spent hours just earning trophies in a minigame designed only to captivate the player for about 15 minutes or so. That's what I call quality. After trophies and stickers comes the Stage Builder. Unfortunately, I did not have enough free space on my Wii to use this feature, though I've heard it's pretty meh. The album is relatively standard, though it's currently filled up with childhood pictures of Olimar and his Pikmin. Challenges are fun, and the progression system here is pretty unique, with a grid-style approach taken to give the player hints as to how to unlock another secret. Replays are simply replays that you can save, but the masterpieces is something that will probably never return, what with the rise of the Virtual Console and all. It allows for short demos of classic Nintendo titles such as F-Zero, the one I'm playing here. As short as the demos can be, they're still really entertaining, as old Nintendo games tend to be. And Chronicle is kinda unnecessary, but still neat. It provides a list of all Nintendo-produced titles up until Brawl's release.
I find going over the options and data sections to be really gratuitous in this video, so I suppose that means we're done here. And I gotta be honest. What's not to love about Super Smash Bros. Brawl? Listen, I understand this game is a letdown for a lot of Super Smash Bros. Melee fans. But get this, Brawl isn't Melee. It doesn't have to be ultra competitive to be fun. It's a totally different game. It doesn't have to replicate everything that Melee is. Because in the end, it's not really about how competitive a game is. It's about how fun it is to play and fun it is to come back to. And Brawl captures both of those things absolutely perfectly. Brawl stands out as a really fun title on the Wii, but not just on the Wii, in all of gaming. So, if it isn't obvious already, I am going to give this game the rating of fighting cheer.
There's just so much to do in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, and the vast amount that you can do is all super. Obviously, you're going to be playing a lot more of the standard mode than any other, but that doesn't mean that all the other extra content is bad. The Subspace Emissary is amazing, as well as the rest of the single-player stuff. The gameplay is what's important, however, and frankly, it's top-notch. I don't see anything wrong with it for the average gamer to enjoy.
Now, if you'll excuse me, it's my turn to join the battle.
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and I have to thank you for watching this episode. I put a lot of time and effort into making these episodes, and it means a lot to me when you guys watch and enjoy them. If you would like to watch more GameJames, I have 2 more episodes for you right here, one on Sonic the Hedgehog and one on Pokemon Snap. And if you would like to give me a suggestion on what game or games to cover next on GameJames, feel free to leave those in the comments below this video. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll be back shortly with another episode of GameJames. See ya!
I need something to play for GameJames. I need something to play. There hasn't been an episode in like a month. Got it! Freeware DOS games. Yes, that's right. GameJames is back. The return of GameJames is upon the world, and to celebrate that, we're taking a look at the classic that is Mario Teaches Typing. Now let me get one thing clear, I do not want to do this. I've played mostly okay to really good games on this channel, but Mario Teaches Typing is a new level of terrible. And I know that's kind of spoiling the results a little bit, but did you honestly expect this to be good? I suppose I have no choice. Welcome to Mario Teaches Typing. Now I have to apologize right off the bat. I was originally going to play Mario Teaches Typing 2. You know, the one with the talking Mario head. But I couldn't find a freeware version of the game online. And hell, if I'm getting a computer that can play Mario Teaches Typing 2, Mario Teaches Typing 2, the physical copy, and recording hardware to record said computer, I'm not doing that. So if you want me to play Mario Teaches Typing 2 and you somehow can find a freeware version of it out there, tell me. I'll play it. Just for you.
Immediately, my ears are assaulted with highly unpleasant noises. Listen to this. That, right there, is most likely punishment for my many wrongdoings. I can't think of any way other to describe it, other than pure agony. And oh yeah, it never stops. Ever. You'll be playing with bloody ears the entire time. Moving past that, I start off with creating a student profile. GameJames it is then. I don't change the WPM goal and end up picking Luigi, who we all know is the best Mario brother. I jump into the first activity, a home row lesson. And I get bored really fast. It only lasts 2 minutes, but it's basically just hitting home row keys with a Mario skin attached. And it's not even a good Mario skin. These aren't Koopas. Luigi sometimes doesn't even hit the blocks, yet they break anyway. It's a poor excuse for a Mario-centered style. Gameplay-wise, it doesn't fare any better. It's a typing program, not a game, and I guess the worst part is it's not very educational. I found myself just memorizing recurring patterns of keys and typing them out. Frankly, I know little about the professional method of typing. My fingers just do what they want. Mario Teaches Typing taught me nothing throughout my time playing it, which was around a half hour. You'd think you'd have learned something by then. Look at that swagger. Luigi knows what he's doing. Luigi disappears into the castle and fireworks go off for way too long. Then I'm shown its stats screen and I'm taken to a new lesson in the same activity. Yay. I played through too much of the first activity before realizing I could go back to the menu and select another one. I choose the second one and, oh wait, gotta up that WPM goal. I don't understand how this can calculate a words per minute stat when I'm just typing in random letters, numbers, and characters. Besides that, I hop right into activity 2 with a characters lesson. It lasts an agonizing 5 minutes, listening to the worst sound and watching Luigi swim in the same 20 feet of water over and over again. It's no different from the first activity, other than the fact that you can readily see what you need to type next to in a line at the top of the screen. That makes it so much easier. Doesn't make it any more fun, but makes it easier. Luigi then swims into Atlantis or something of that nature, and I decide no more of that and click the fourth option. I wanted to save the third and final game for last.
Now let me prepare you for this as best I can. This fourth option is the worst one you could possibly pick. It is not fun. It is not enjoyable in any way. It is torture in its purest form.
It's just typing. That's it. With a Mario staring you down the whole time with that creepy expression. He knows. He knows the pain.
Moving on, let's get to our final game, and what is frankly the best one here. Not exactly like Best Mario Teaches Typing Activity is a esteemed title. This is supposed to be the advanced level with a minimum WPM goal of 30. However, it's really easy to hit that number, despite this being the hardest level. That's because this level utilizes actual sentences.
This is the best it's going to get from Mario Teaches Typing. Typing in actual sentences in a manner where you can see exactly what you need to type is more educational than anything else on this bloody program. It's not fun, but it's tolerable. I can type real sentences. Watch that strut. Luigi's got it down.
That's about it for Mario Teaches Typing. Sorry for the relatively short episode, but there really is not a lot to cover here. It's a teaching tool, not really as much a game. And it isn't really even a good teaching tool at that. I don't understand why any parent or teacher would buy this over more successful and more credible typing tools out there, other than maybe the Mario name at the top. This is a disappointing experience. It's more than a disappointing experience. It's a painful experience. With boring activities, ear-bleeding music and sound effects, and a presentation that lacks the traditional Mario flair, there isn't really much good about Mario Teaches Typing. At least the second one had that weird Mario head. But we have the absolute classic Mario's Game Gallery to fall back on. Wait.
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and I'm sorry for being gone for so long. I have some new videos for you guys in the works now, so those will go up soon after this one. If you'd like to watch more GameJames, I have 2 more episodes for you right here. One on Pokemon Snap and one on Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I hope you check those out, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of GameJames. See ya!
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and I overheard some people talking about what they think to be a bad game, a failed cash-in at the Splatoon market, a lazy bid for a new IP. They're talking about ARMS for the Nintendo Switch. You know exactly who you are. Yes, many people believe that ARMS was an experiment, a way to see and gauge interest in new IPs for the Nintendo Switch that didn't really pan out very well. But I'm here to tell you that you're dead wrong. Now, I know opinions can't be wrong, but I think we can make an exception for this one. ARMS is a great game. It may not be on the high pedestal that Splatoon 2 is on, but it's somewhere up there, you have to admit.
Let's start with the overall presentation. Safe to say, it's pretty good. The art style is amazing, holding its own and standing out against Splatoon's style, which many choose to compare it to. Yes, both are cartoony, a stylistic decision Nintendo often likes to make, but ARMS is more hard-edged and detailed, while Splatoon's style revolves around the use of wild colors and themes.
So it looks nice, and I can be one to tell you that it plays nice as well. Whether you're using standard controls or motion controls, all of the controls just work. I can punch, jab, grab, whatever I want to do, all with the fluency of normal punching. It just works. A big complaint I noticed when this game first came out was the lack of content. Now this is pretty understandable. With only 10 fighters and 10 stages at launch, it felt a bit lacking. But I think this issue's been rectified as the game's gone on. 5 fighters and 5 stages have been added, and with over 40 arms to mix and match, we don't really need an overly large roster. Unfortunately, the game is done being updated at version 5.0, so these will be our final numbers. But in my opinion, I think there's some pretty impressive numbers. It creates thousands, maybe millions of combinations for matches that can all be explored, and every match is unique.
Now that I've praised this game's content, let's take a look at it. Grand Prix is the main single-player attraction. It's a fun path through 10 matches that should take you a while to complete, especially if you plan on completing it with all 15 characters. It throws in some other match types besides the main one, to spice things up I suppose. I'll go into those match types in a bit. I played through Grand Prix as the newest character, Dr. Coyle, and I can't tell you how many times I lost to Springman in Hoops. My grab game in ARMS is pretty weak, and with a mode centered around grabbing your opponent, again I'll get into that later, it took me a while to get past it, but overall I enjoyed playing Grand Prix, even if it gave me a severe hatred for Springman. Moving on from Grand Prix, there are several versus modes to explore. The main one is Fight. There are many rules to change in Fight, such as the time limit, item usage, and HP base. Once you pick your fighters and stage, you're thrown into a match set to the rules you assigned. I spent too long recording this mode, almost 20 minutes to be exact, simply because it was so fun to play. This is your standard versus mode, and probably the one you'll be playing most. It's the most simple mode in the entire game, yet it allows for a lot of customization on top of the already heavily customizable mechanics. Team Fight is pretty self-explanatory. You and a partner are linked by a cable or string of some sort, and are on a mission to beat the opposing team. It's certainly fun, but not a mode I think you'd play often. V-Ball and Hoops are different beasts entirely. I like to call them the side events of ARMS. When you get bored of Fight, you play V-Ball or Hoops. And even being the side events, Nintendo clearly put a lot of effort and time into these two modes to make sure they hold their own. V-Ball involves 2 players knocking an explosive ball back and forth until it hits one side of a field broken by a net. It's volleyball, but with an ARMS twist. Hoops is basketball, but again with that twist. In this version, you're playing at 10 points with an opponent, trying to throw or dunk each other through a hoop. It's hilarious fun even when Springman is too good at it. Sometimes me and a friend would get caught up playing these two modes and completely forget about the rest of the modes. That's how quality these two side events actually are.
We've gone through 5 modes of ARMS so far. We still have 5 to go, 6 if you count the arms getter. Strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be here for a while.
There are 3 more versus modes I'd like to cover. Skillshot is simple. It's a target game with the added bonus of hitting your opponent on the opposite side of the arena. The one with the most points at the end win, with more points being awarded from multiple targets hit in succession. It's alright, but nothing to write home about. Now with some serious fun is Headlock Scramble, a newer mode added to the ARMS post-release. Headlock Scramble has 2 to 4 players fighting for Headlock in the center of the stage. The fighter wearing Headlock has 6 arms and power-upped attacks. It's very enjoyable to waltz around wearing Headlock, destroying anyone and anything in your path, until you lose Headlock and have to fight for it again. This mode is often overlooked, but a cool one if you do choose to play it. 1-on-100 is another simple yet effective mode. Single player only, 1-on-100 tasks the player with taking on 100 dummies in as less time as possible. I got really close to beating the mode, 97 was my final score, but once you beat it one time, I don't see any real reason to come back and try again. Now, let's move on to the 2 online modes, Ranked Match and Party Match. Party Match places you in a lobby of up to 10 systems with up to 2 players per system, effectively 20 players. Within these lobbies, 2 to 4 players will be placed in a seemingly random match type to fight for in-game currency. It's basically an online free-for-all including Enry mode and versus besides 1-on-100. I honestly see little reason to play this mode, as if you wanted to play a specific versus mode, you just go to versus and play it rather than hoping you get it randomly assigned to you in Party Match. Ranked Match is where it's at though. Here you fight in one-on-one bouts against opponents similar to you in skill level. You fight for ranking and prestige in what is essentially your average for glory type deal. Frankly, I love any kind of ranked mode and it's often my favorite. That's the case here as well. I'm only ranked 9 now, but I'd honestly like for that to be higher. I'm admittedly not very good at ARMS. Our final mode is the Arms Getter. Yes, that's what it's seriously called, in what is more of a mini-game than anything else. You launch your fists at targets, but mostly at boxes and clocks in the back behind the targets. Boxes are marked with the symbol of each fighter, excluding Springtron, and if you knock one down, you'll get an arm for said fighter. There are 2 levels, the arm itself and a buffed up version of it unlocked by grabbing it twice in the Arms Getter. It's the only way to spend your currency in the game, and it's a little disappointing that there's no straight shop to get the arms you want, but the Arms Getter is fun to play every once in a while.
So there you have it. ARMS for the Nintendo Switch. It's obviously a pretty good game. I've been singing its praises throughout the entire video, but would I call it a design masterpiece? Yeah, I would. Have you been listening this whole time? I've loved ARMS from the day it came out up until now. It is my most played Switch game with over 100 hours logged onto it. That speaks to the volume of how much I like the game. I believe that too many people compare this game to Splatoon 2 in the way it functions and the way it plays, and I really don't think that's fair. I wholeheartedly believe that ARMS is one of the top 5 Nintendo Switch games as of this video coming out. And it may not stack up to Splatoon 2, it may not even stack up to some of the other titles on the Nintendo Switch, but it's a bid for a new IP, and it's a pretty good one at that. You know, in terms of sales, ARMS is actually 6th in the Nintendo Switch lineup, barely missing the top 5. The top 5 are Breath of the Wild, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Splatoon 2, Super Mario Odyssey, and 1, 2, Switch!
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and thanks for watching yet another episode of the show. If you'd like to watch more, I'd like to show you 2 videos, one on the travesty that was Mario Teaches Typing, and one on Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I hope you enjoy these 2 videos. If you decide to check them out, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode of GameJames. See ya!
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and I've been looking for a retro game to cover. Now, I've done Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario Teaches Typing, but I've been looking for something from the glory days of the Nintendo Entertainment System. I've also been looking for a game that's a topic of debate among fans. Something people can't really agree on whether it's good or not. My search ended at Final Fantasy for the NES. I picked this game up around Christmas last year, and I've wanted to do a review on it ever since. It's just that kind of game. An incredible game when it came out in 1987, but an unsure bet on whether or not it stands the test of time. It can fall on either the good side or the bad side of the spectrum, which is something I look for in games that I review on this channel.
Let's just start by creating our party. This was one of the great things about Final Fantasy. You could choose from 6 classes for your 4 party members. I chose Jame the Black Mage, it again wouldn't let me enter James, Sina the Fighter, Boy the Red Mage, and Y the Black Belt. Great names, I know. I enter the castle and the princess has been kidnapped by the evil Garland, and I am to go save her. I think, okay, let's do that. I start making my way north, fighting and running from some imps along the way. I make it to Garland's castle, and then once inside, I quickly die. Ouch. Attempt 2. This time I'm going to change my party. We have Cease the Fighter, Boy is back as the Red Mage, Pear the White Mage, and Emo the Black Mage. This time I decide to grind outside the castle until I'm strong enough to take on Garland's castle. Then Cease dies. Oops. I look around the nearby castle for some kind of way to revive Cease, but no luck. I decided I was just dead by this point and wandered off to die. Attempt 3. My next party is going to have 3 fighters as they seem to be the most damage inducing and they have the most health. Their names, John F.A. Cena. I bring in Jam, not Jame, the Black Mage for reasons unknown. I waltz over to Garland's castle with my party intact and fight a cap. I decide that John will equip the cap. Then John promptly dies, along with Cena. Great. F.A. is next, leaving Jam to wither away and shrivel to dust. Attempt 4. All fighters. All fighters. The real Meme King is their collective name, and their mission is to clear this very beginning section of the game. They, don't. But we grab a cabin inside the castle and are able to save our game, 2 of our fighters still alive. I fight Garland a couple of times, but to no avail. Attempt 5. I must be missing something at this point. There's got to be something I'm skipping past. I create Meep, Nope, Yeth, and Jam, but they don't fare any better than any other team I've had. It takes me 6 tries to realize there's more to the town than the castle. I walk into the side houses and BAM! Town. I get some gear, some magic, and save my game at the inn. Now this is where I actually forget to equip any of the stuff I just bought, but it doesn't seem to matter as we make it past Garland after saving with all 4 party members breathing and getting pretty lucky.
Now we can move on to the meat of Final Fantasy. I'm not going to play-by-play the rest of my experience with the game, however, I do want to touch on some key issues I have with the game. Visuals are really impressive for 1987 standards, as well as music, so there's no problems there. What I do have a problem with, however, is the gameplay. The backbone of Final Fantasy is your essential turn-based combat, but unfortunately it's been dialed down to a 2 in speed. To a what scale? I don't know, but what I do know is that this game is kinda slow.
It seems random battles trigger way too often and drain your party too much to really be fun. It can take anywhere from a few seconds to over 10 minutes to get somewhere. And this wouldn't be so bad if the battles didn't take very long, but wow, do they take forever. Especially when there are more than 4 enemies on screen, it can take forever just to get through one bloody turn. Not only are the fights slow, but they are also unrewarding. In order to gain enough levels to survive the next dungeon, you must kill a lot of enemies. There's no real strategy to keep you interested, there isn't anything to balance things out. The battles are just simply boring. One other thing I don't especially like is that the story takes a back seat. In an era where stories in games didn't really exist, this could have been a massive undertaking that paid off really well. However, the story isn't really mentioned all that much. It mostly consists of you heading to a town, hearing about some disastrous event, and stopping it. It's as in-depth as a puddle on a sidewalk.
Not like that a game isn't really a bad thing, not at all, but when it comes from plentiful random encounters and dying a lot, it kinda is a bad thing. Don't get me wrong, this game is not awful in any way, it's just not really that good. In terms of rating, this will have to be the 2nd time I'm putting a game in the middle. It's both revolutionary and really dated.
For every bad thing in this game, there's a good thing to counteract it. It doesn't really compare to later entries in the Final Fantasy franchise, but it still holds its own as a unique game, that's for sure. You decide whether or not it's necessarily a good game.
It's safe to say that Final Fantasy will hold its place in history for its impacts on the gaming industry. It was revolutionary, as I said, but it's not really a game I'd want to revisit. I've been dreading this day for a very long time now. The day I review my worst nightmare.
Hey guys, it's GameJames, and thank you for watching our 6th episode so far. Let me just say that this one was a bit of trouble to make, but I got it done. If you would like to watch more GameJames, I got 2 options for you. One involves ARMS, and one involves Mario teaches typing. I hope you check out both those videos, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next episode of GameJames. See ya!